I stand here before you, not as a prophet,
Although he was a great philosopher,
but as a humble servant of you.
he was stupid.
Madiba is known, together with Ndade Tambo, to have been one of those first black lawyers.
Thank you for your kindness. God loves you.
But my Lord, if it needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
Madiba is known, together with Ndade Tambo, to have been one of those first black lawyers who then came out and tried to defend the rights of particularly black people. So at the heart of the practice was dealing with vulnerable people, vulnerability as it relates to the law, how institutions of the law treated black people.
Former President Nelson Mandela's passion for justice seemed to have resonated with him at a very early age. He was only 21 years when he registered at Fort Hare University to study for his law degree. It was only in 1952 that Madiba was admitted as a fully fledged attorney.
At the courthouse, he was with a big firm of attorneys arranged by Walter Sisulu, and I was with a one-man show attorney. But we couldn't go to a tea room or a coffee shop or anything like that. But we could actually go to an Indian place to eat, and also a Chinese place.
For over 2 decades, Madiba practiced as an article clerk, a professional assistant, as well as a practicing lawyer with his longtime friend and comrade, Oliver Tambo. However, the apartheid regime did not make it easy for black lawyers to be admitted as legal representatives.
There was no racial bar in the statutes for admission. They were racially neutral. And yet, it was always difficult to get admission. The first barrier was passing admission exams at an attorney's level. The second, at advocate's level, the barrier was getting chambers, joining other advocates. Remember, advocates practice as a collective, and they occupy the same building. Attorneys occupy different buildings, but advocates are all together. So you will know that people of color, and Africans in particular, were kept out of advocates' chambers. So that is why people like Dumanokwe, Advocate Dumanokwe, Advocate Mabitsela, were kept out. And over time, Advocate Skweyiya in Natal, Advocate Zak Yakub, had to practice separately because the Separate Amenities Act made sure that they were not allowed to get into those buildings. So the act was neutral, but there were ways to keep you out. But the one thing and that explains why, for instance, Mandela and Tambo chose to be attorneys and practiced in Chancellor House on Commissioner Street as attorneys.
Not only were white law firms too expensive for black people's affordability, in instances where they represented people of color, they charged them more than they would charge white people. This prompted Mandela and Tambo to open a law firm that would accommodate all South Africans. The Madiba and Tambo firm represented hope for many black people seeking justice. Each morning, Madiba and Tambo were greeted by throngs of black people who queued outside their offices looking for their help. During apartheid, it was a crime to be found on white-only buses or being on the streets after 11 or found without a dompas. Black people were also arrested and charged for being unemployed or employed in the wrong places. These are the premises where Oliver Tambo as well as Nelson Mandela had their legal practice, the very first black-owned legal practice in the country. The stairs leading up to the second floor is where both Nelson Mandela as well as Oliver Tambo had their legal practice. That is where they met their different clients and advised them on the legal route. However, when under siege by the regime that was in operation at the time, the apartheid regime, other means had to be optimized in order to get away or to flee. And these stairs leading to at least 1 kilometer into the city is what they used to get away. Mandela's pursuit for justice landed him on the wrong side of the law. In 1961, Mandela and other leaders sought refuge at the Liliesleaf farm in Rivonia as they hid from the security police. They were later found and arrested and charged with treason in the infamous Rivonia trial.
I persuaded him not to withdraw it altogether, but at the very least that he could do, he would say, this is what I have been telling you throughout my political life. You didn't listen to me. I think this will inure to your disadvantage in the end. But I am prepared, if needs be, to die for what I believe in.
It is an idea for which I hope to live for. But my Lord, if it needs be, it is an idea for which I am prepared to die.
I told Nelson, although he was a great philosopher, he was stupid. He said, no, I have been telling you what was the right thing to do all my life, and you did wrong things. I repeat that the things that you did for our democracy were wrong. And
Mandela's struggle to be admitted as an officer of the court would later pave the way for other candidate attorneys.
I had been in prison for 10 years on Robben Island. And the argument was quite heated in court. The Law Society of the Transvaal of the time said, no, this man is an ex-con. He may not be admitted as an attorney. And I was saying, I'm entitled to be admitted as an attorney because my conviction is not as a result of duplicity or dishonesty. In fact, my conviction is about honesty. It's about integrity. Because I wanted to resist the apartheid system, which I consider to be an evil system. Mr. Mandela put up the same argument in his case and saying mine is not a crime that ought to keep me out of admission, because in fact it was a crime, it was an offense of integrity.
The building, which once represented justice and hope to many black people, was left dilapidated for over 10 years. During that time, it was used by homeless people seeking shelter in the inner city.
Sahlala la emahala la kwakuyindawo kuthiwa imahala eWestgate Court kune-apartheid yamabhunu. Safika kweminyama ndawo, safika sathatha ngikhathi ukuboshwa uMandela, safika sahlala la. Sathathwa sasiwa kwi-shelter ePakistan.
But for some lawyers, the building once occupied by the country's liberation heroes still represents hope and inspiration.
It gives a feeling of nostalgia, knowing that Tata Mandela once operated within this vicinity, especially at a time when it was very difficult for a black lawyer to do so. So I feel so honored to work freely and practice freely after so many years of deprivation due to the apartheid policy then.
For Afro World View, Sindisiwa Twala, Johannesburg.